I was just sharing with everyone, this is a conversation that is really a great, this class right here could be a series of classes, but it really needs to be in a more casual, intimate setting when we're talking about branding and authenticity, because there's just so many different layers that you really have to uncover about yourself before you can really see yourself as your own brand, right? It really is a whole self-discovery process. One thing that we've been doing to really dive into more of the, let's go deeper at the heart and the soul level, is a training camp at Better Homes and Garden, which happens to be tomorrow, right? It is tomorrow, right? And it's a beautiful series of those of us that are really wanting to do more self-discovery, just that really pause and reflect moment once a month, where we all get together round table and we just have conversation. There's not lessons, it's just conversations around a specific topic that comes to us through this book John Gordon wrote called Training Camp. And what we've been discovering is what the best do best. And so layer by layer, piece by piece, moment by moment, we're all doing that deep dive into ourselves. And really that's part of the whole process of really figuring out who am I, how do I see myself, and how do others see me? Because at the end of the day, and I'll reflect back to a conversation that I had with BJ years ago. I know I scare her whenever I say that because we have a lot of conversations. So, but I remember her telling me one time whenever I was trying to figure out a slogan and an image that I was going to use for branding. And I was really trying to figure out, how do I brand myself? Well, there's a difference in marketing and there's in branding. You are your brand. And she told me my name, my face, my voice, the words I choose to use, that's my brand, because that's who you are. And so it took me a lot of years to really figure out what it means. So we're going to go through some branding techniques and ideas and examples so you guys can see. But I want you guys to really be reflecting on, am I as a person? Who am I as an individual that people do business with? What makes me unique and different? What makes me who I am? Because that is your brand. The problem is, a lot of times we think that people want to perceive us this certain way, so we change our behavior and we change the way we say or do or market ourselves, and then you're out of alignment with really who you are, and that is not truly branding yourself as your brand. You are who you are. You're loved as you are. Those around you appreciate who you are. And the people that choose to do business with you choose to do business with you as a person, as a human. And so don't pretend to be someone you're not, because it's going to come off as feeling fake and phony if you do. So we'll go through some of that. And what I challenge you to do as we're going through this is, don't look at the way someone else is doing something and feeling like they're doing it really well and try to copy them, because it's going to come over as fake. But we can use what other people are doing to inspire some ideas on how we can do that in our own unique way. But let's do some housekeeping business real quick. So you guys are here as part of the series, the success series that we started 6 weeks ago. So this is the 6th time that we have had this class together. If you feel like you've been, if you know that you've been here for every one of the classes, then please, well, VJ, do you have a roster already ready that you can go over with us? She may be on the phone because she's monitoring, I think, the phones too. Who's been here? Who's in the room has been here for all of the classes?
No, I don't have one put together.
Okay. Hang on one second. I was going to look and see who's on Zoom. Is anybody on Zoom that's been here? Ben, you've missed one or two, hadn't you?
I don't remember. I know I got nearly all of them, but I'm not sure. I know BJ knows.
You went. Let me see what date was the first one. Do what? Let's see. Hang on one second. Beverly asked the date of our first one. Let me look. I just want to make sure that we give credit because there's money on the line. BJ, was our first one April the 5th? That's funny. That's in your notes. Hang on, I'm pulling it up. Yes, April 5th. Yeah, so Beverly and Carmen in the room, BJ, have been here for all of them. And neither one of them have received the free MLS dues. Never in her life, never in Beverly's life, and neither in Carmen's either. So congratulations, you guys should qualify for a free quarter of MLS dues. So if you've been here for in Zoom too, yes. Okay, so Danny also, BJ. So thank you all for being here and making the time. This is the first time we've done 2 hours in each week. Show of hands who liked that. Okay. All right, cool.
Hey Ben, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Is that Jim Barrett?
It is.
And hi, Diane and Jim.
Yes.
I'm on mute now.
You can see both of them.
Hey, Ben. There's a few of us older ones still hanging around.
I love it. I love it. All right. VJ, is there anything else that I need to do from a housekeeping standpoint since this is our last class? She'll interrupt me if so. All right. We're going to go straight into this. And for those of you guys who really want to go deeper on the whole brand authenticity, I think I'm going to do, I was just talking to the rest of the room Zoom. I've got a little tea room that I'm putting together in the office where I've got 5 tables that seat 4. It's kind of cramped if we have that many people, but I could seat that many people. And I literally was going to have the teas from Alex's shop, my teas that are farm to bag, totally clean teas. They're delicious too. And so we can do, I'm calling it Spill the Positivity, and just really some little intimate classes, kind of like training camp. I'll do something like that, maybe on a weekly date. Maybe, I don't know, weekly's kind of tough in the summertime. I'll figure it out. But it would be all in the whole, authenticity category if we do something growth-minded, personal growth. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about discovering your brand DNA, winning the attention war in today's very noisy world, especially on social media, where we have to grab their attention. That or using your CRM to get their attention, branding matters. How to build trust and connection with your ideal client. And the key word to all of this is your ideal client. Because an ideal client for me is going to be different than an ideal client for Beverly. Every one of us have a different ideal client. You need to get real clear about who that ideal client is. And then 3 steps to increase your influence and grow your income. Now, we're going to go through this rather because there's a lot of content in here. But I honestly could sit there and break this down into classes and spend an hour or two on each one of these classes with assignments to help you get clear. So today is just really an overview of the ideas and the topics, knowing that there's no way we can deep dive into every one of these, but every one of these, if you're serious about branding, you deep dive into all of these. And then lastly, we'll have some case studies to look at. So what is your personal brand? The people do business with people. Every one of you guys are associated with a brokerage firm, but that is not who they're choosing to do business with. And honestly, people probably don't really have any idea what brokerage firm you're associated with because they're doing business with you. They know you from someone else that knows you, or they know you from other parts of your life that you can, just regular life, or they've seen you on social media or somewhere, and because of that, they're curious more about who you are, and they've reached out to you. BJ, write that down for Dina. Wants to do some more stuff. What? Yes, but you know what? Let me speak to that, Beverly. You're right. Some people, you may be an individual who is well known, but you may be an individual that I know you. I know what you stand for. You're not in alignment with what I stand for, and I may not do business with you. I like you, but I'm not going to do business with you because we are not in alignment. And that's okay. You guys got to be comfortable and okay with being who you are so loudly that some people may choose not to do business with you, and that's okay, which is fine. We can't be everything to everybody and still be true to ourselves. It's not possible. You'll wear yourself out trying to be everything to everybody. Ultimately, the majority of Americans consider a personal brand as someone who's simply recognizable. That's it. You're recognizable. You are being yourself out loud. Not obnoxious. I mean, well, that's not true too. Some people are really obnoxiously themselves out loud by choice. And that's okay too. It just may not be someone I'm going to do business with. What's interesting about that is benefits of a personal brand. 63% of people are going to use that information to decide if they're going to buy from them. Now, some people may seek advice from them and not buy from them. They just want their opinion because they know they have it and they're willing to share it, right? Some people, because of their personal brand and they're living their life so out loud and you know who they are, that I might even recommend that Danny go talk to this person over here because I know who Danny is. I know who this person is. And even though I might not do business with them, I see them as a good fit, right? And that's perfectly fine too. So how do you even discover your brand DNA? There's a couple of little things that anybody ever do those little surveys on Facebook where it's like, if you were an animal, what would you be? And you take this little personal quiz and it comes back and you start reading it and it's like, man, how'd they know? That's so, that really does sound like me. I would be a parrot if I was an animal or whatever, a bird. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of different tools that you can use. Has anybody ever done Enneagram? Y'all know your Enneagram number? No? Okay. Enneagram is I like to use Enneagram to really, Enneagram is just one of those personality tests that really feels very apt to me. I even have the Enneagram number on each one of my children and my husband, because I can go on to Enneagram Ashton on Instagram, and she is all about Enneagram. I know who she is from a personal branding standpoint. She is all about Enneagrams. And I can go on there on Enneagram and say it's Christmas time, and I can look and see a perfect Christmas gift for an Enneagram number 6. And she'll list out all these great gift ideas, or the perfect summer vacation for Enneagram number 2, and it lists out all of these perfect trips. And if I talk to my husband about that, oh, that's a great idea. Yes, we should do that. To me, it's just like a quick little hack into ANNEA gram. Or E. It may be EN. Hang on. Hang on 1 second. Let me look this up. Let me just show you guys quick. You just looked it up. Hang, let's see what Enneagram Ashton is. Oh, I just love it. But there's another little brain kit website I'm going to share guys that I think you're really going to like in just a minute. And it really helps discover who you said. You said you think it's E? Yeah, it is E. All right, let me just show you this real quick. She's built her entire business. Look, that 600,000 followers. So I'm not the only one into this whole Enneagram thing. But let's just say I'm an Enneagram. So let's what she says about this. But I'm thinking as an Enneagram never. So how to stay positive. That's true. All of the love, all I love. I went through that list this morning. I agree with that. The next place I can travel to, I'm all thinking about where I'm going to travel next. Wondering how to avoid boredom. How to stay focused and new possibilities, opportunities. Now, my husband is an Enneagram 6. No, he's not. He's 5. Hard to keep up with who. So if I'm wondering what my husband's thinking, while we're drinking a cup of coffee, this might give me a little insight. He's thinking about everything, even though he tells me he's thinking about nothing. How he loves things that others don't know. How to conserve his energy. I mean, so it's just, my whole point is she's made a living out of just this one thing, being true to who she is. Everything that she has in her feed is all based on understanding people at a deeper level. That's just who she is. Huh? Yeah. All right. I say all that because whenever you are trying to figure out really who am I, it's sometimes you just need that one little hack to help you figure. I'm going to take a couple of these little personality tests and see if this really helps me get clear with who I am. All right. So there's also getting clarity on who you are only helps you understand who it is you like to serve. And that's the point. Based on who I am, who is it I like to serve? And the way you build a business is figuring out what problems do those people have that I can solve. But you got to figure out who you are first, who it is that you like to serve, and then think about what problems they have. For those of you guys who have been in the business for a long time, which is everybody in the room, Deanna, are you new to the business? No? Yes. Dana?
Ben Williams, no, he's been in longer.
I'm new, a
No,
year,
Dana. Are you new?
1 year.
Okay. So for the you've been in the business for a long time, you can reflect on those transactions you've done. And when you list this type of home, or you deal with this type of personality, or you're working with this kind of buyer, it just seems to go easy. You don't forget things that are important. The conversations are smooth and easy. You feel confident, you feel comfortable with these types of transactions. When you've done enough of those transactions, it's easy for you to reflect on those actions and figure out, who is it I like to serve? Who are my favorite types of clients? Do what? Yes, it is. Well, because you're considering energy. If things go easy, there's just a flow in that type of business, working with those kind of clients, you can conserve energy. In fact, it's energizing. You're working with those kind of people. It just seems to go really well. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be challenges. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be some comes up in the middle of the transaction that has to be worked through. But when you're working with people that you get and they get you, it's just easier to even work through the challenges. So when you're thinking about those people, do you guys have a certain person in mind? I mean, a certain transaction. Think back to the transaction that you've done recently that just went smooth. You got that transaction in your head? What about it made it so smooth and easy? Was it the type of property and you felt more comfortable with that type of property? Was it the type of personality? Was it the age group? Yeah.
I would honestly think that a lot of this is center price point.
Is it price point?
Because if you're, under 200,000, first time home buyers, that,
Uh-huh.
and when I feel we with a, well, we're starting.
Mm-hmm.
That's whenever I put our
Mm.
on the
Mm-hmm.
converse side, if you're up in the 600, 800 and up, they don't feel
Yeah.
one majority of the time. So they kind of know the process. Your value to them is being managed and they don't give it.
Okay. So if you're working with a move-up buyer and you feel more that you're in a project manager role, you're just facilitating the transaction to make sure that you're 3 steps ahead of everybody to clear the path, right? Which is basically what you're doing, because they already know what, versus working with someone, even if it's not price point, it really is scenario. You're working with the first-time home buyer who's never before, that needs more guidance, needs more explanation and reminders of what to do next, right? So 2 different transactions. And it would be even handled 2 different ways, because if you're with a first-time home buyer, you might have reminders phone to remind them of the things that they need to be staying on top of. Like, you also might have to schedule more time. Like, you're not going to just send an inspection over and ask them to review an inspection and get back to you with what they think that needs to be done, right? Because that would freak them out and they'd just be asking for a termination, or next thing you know, you've got, other people's opinion who looked over that inspection with them. So when you understand who your ideal clients are, then you set up a whole process and a flow for making sure that you consistently do a great job with that type of client, right? And so it doesn't mean that's the only person you're ever going to work with, because that first-time home buyer will eventually be a move-up buyer. If you put them in your database and you stay in touch with them, then in 5 or 6 years, as their family grows, they're going to be calling you again, and they're going to be a move-up buyer. So, but understanding who you prefer to work with and branding around that helps you feel more confident and comfortable for business, right? So which of those 2 do you prefer? Danny?
I'm kind of in the middle. I really, I'm quite honest, even though I don't make as much money with first time home buyers.
Uh-huh.
I get a certain amount of self-satisfaction out of it, in that you take somebody that, first of all, you have to overcome the preconceived notions of what a realtor is.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta develop the trust with them within the first, say, 90 seconds to a minute
Mm-hmm.
on the phone. And then you baby step them all the way through the process. And you go from somebody that's living with mom and dad, or they've been in an apartment for X number of years, and they want a nice yard for this new baby coming.
Mm-hmm.
And you have that satisfaction of giving them the keys to their quote unquote dream property at that stage in their life.
Right.
And and I don't know if it was Kyle Engler who said it, that if you're, I think it's in his book, if you're in this business for the money,
Mm-hmm.
you're in the wrong business.
Right. Can y'all hear me? Y'all hear?
You take care of people, and there was executive thing.
Mm-hmm.
That if you take care of these people, the money will come.
Absolutely. Happens. You will attract more of that because you're feeling, I mean, the zone. And when you're in the zone, more of that is just attracted to you.
That's true.
And you know, the more fun you're having with it, the more people see it, feel it, and want some of it.
And it's fun. I do it.
Why do it? So just getting clear on that. But let me just ask you, Danny, while we're on that subject, do you remember buying your first home?
I did.
Come here and talk about that just a little bit. You're gonna have to go down memory lane just a little bit,
Yeah, quite a ways back.
quite a ways back. But I want you got to feel the feels of being at first. How old were you? Do you remember?
Let's see, I guess I was 24
Okay.
when we bought our first home. And Debbie and I, we had a child already. And we were just, wanting to get our own place and start everything. So I went from, a newlywed to a brand new dad to a home buyer. And all at once, it's like, oh my gosh. Now, I was fortunate that I had a dad that was a businessman, and he had a lot of connections with the bank. And we actually went with a conventional loan on our first house because of the convenience of it.
Mm-hmm.
We were established with the bank. We had a little bit of a credit rating, and due to my dad's reputation, they were, because they knew if I blew up the loan, that Dad would take care
Yeah,
of it,
take care of it.
even though he didn't sign anything.
Right.
you know.
But you at that point, that recommendation of your dad, someone that you respected, someone you
Exactly.
trusted, is how you connected with the bank. How'd you connect with the realtor?
The realtor was off the sign,
Okay.
believe it or not. We had been kind of looking around. This is before the internet. And if you went to a realtor, he had an MLS book about that thick that they
Mhm.
reprinted every week. And it was much more difficult to find a property that you could afford back then without spending hours and hours and hours in the MLS. So we were basically driving around, and we found a nice little home in Lawton. And it was actually half away from where I was raised. So I had that familiarity, and having that familiarity with the neighborhood, I mean, we looked at one house and bought it
Wow.
because it was just, everything just fell into place. When I look back on it, should I have shopped around a little bit? Probably. But for that point in our life, it was back then a HUD home
Mhm.
that had been redone on the inside. And we were there about 3 years before we decided to move up. I had a career change, make a little more money, and we had another one on the way.
Of course.
And so, we had our second, third child 2 months apart. I just couldn't keep her away from me. And so we were family quickly
Mhm.
because we had established a track record on making our payments. We were able to move up to a considerably nicer home as our family grew. And I used the same realtor on the second home because he took care of us on the first one.
Did he stay in touch with you or do you just remembered them?
At
Because,
that time, realtors didn't, that I recall. He was just a prominent realtor. His name was Charlie Singleton Realty in Lawton.
but he had a brand.
He had a
Everybody
brand.
knew who he was in
Everybody
town
knew
and he
Charlie.
always took care of people.
Yeah.
He did a great job for you and you remembered him.
Yeah, and he had, and because Singleton was a big old S.
See, you guys did y'all,
And,
he visualized
and
the logo and remembered the name because of the service provided.
plus with the last name Smith, my name started with an S, so it just kept kind of clicking.
Uh-huh.
And, we always think it's a God thing, but it just fell right into line with what we needed.
Mm.
And, but it was a learning experience. Today, it's a whole different world because of the internet.
Right.
And everybody's shopping online. They're not driving around looking for real estate sign. So in my opinion, and I've learned so many classes, is that I've got to get my brand out there so that if they see a house in Kingston or the deal or whatever, they remember a video of what they saw.
Mhm.
And
And brand,
so,
which is cowboy hat.
yeah.
Hey, now, while we're talking about, okay, you guys, you see emotions, right? You remember your first experience based on hearing his first experience, right? Do y'all remember your first real estate agent when you bought your first house? No? Mhm.
The owner financed it. Our neighbor sold us. My husband had bought land,
Mhm.
and then the lady was moving back to Illinois, and we didn't really use a realtor, but pretty much the realtor he used was Ann. Years ago,
Mhm.
he was using a realtor.
Mhm. So my first, don't leave yet, because I still
Okay.
want to ask you something. My first real estate agent was Fran Schultz. And I'm trying to think how I even got hooked up with Fran, but I do remember talking to someone else prior to talking to Fran Schultz. But I felt when I talked to Fran that everything was going to be taken care of for me and I didn't have to worry about the details. I felt confident in it's kind of like working with Ann Dickon. I just felt like she'd done it for a long time and she was going to mother in me and it was okay. And I bought a house over here on LaSalle. That was my first house, across the street from Joey Womble. And I also remember talking to two different mortgage companies, Kay Adams and Susan Ditton. And I remember whenever I called Kay Adams, she was really rushed on the phone and she told me I could only qualify for like a $55,000 or $60,000 house. And I called Susan Denton and Susan, Mike was the person that answered the phone. See, I remember this stuff because it was such a big deal. I remember Mike was just so helpful over the phone, answered all my questions, got my information over the phone, and they told me I was okay up to $125,000 house. That was a big difference because the houses that I was able to look at. So all of those things matter. And
Sure.
that, I mean, still to this day, Fran Schultz she's still in real estate and she's still mother hens. But that's who she is. I mean, you're going to get her opinion, whether you agree with her or not, you're still going to hear her opinion. She's going to share it with you and she's going to tell you what she thinks about every decision that you're making. As a first-time home buyer, that was comforting. Now, I may use her again, but knowing who she is, I'm going to disagree with a lot that she agrees with. And that's okay because she's still true to her, who she is. And that's my point. Now, let's talk about branding a little bit. All right, you wear a hat and you and I met about 2 years ago when you were new to the business and we were talking about marketing and branding. And I asked you what that one thing, you wear a hat often, why don't you use that as something that you do consistently all the
Right.
time?
Right.
But you have a hat story, and I still haven't heard you share that story. So tell everybody else that story so you're comfortable telling why hats matter to you.
Well, I'm comfortable wearing a hat, and I like to use a lot of hat etiquette whenever I meet a lady, get my hat. This world has lost a lot of courtesies, and gentlemen aren't gentlemen that they used to be. And I can, when I first meet, usually meet for the first time, and I shake his hand, I tip my hat to her, and they're like, but the hat story is, whenever I was growing up, my dad was a co-owner in the Moore Hat Company in Lawton, and we manufactured Western straw hats. We bought the raw materials from the Philippines and Manila, and we would bring the raw materials over, which they looked like a big hood when we got them. We had all the machinery and everything, stamped everything about the hat. We even had a patent on a new design of putting wire in the hat,
Oh,
where they used, all the hat manufacturers used to put, like a wire connector,
mhm.
you know, and if you've got a wire, you got a pump in your wire. That same thing in Western straw hats, and we patented the idea whether we build a machine and we would use the wire like a welder,
Mhm.
just heated it and
Mhm.
stuck together and eliminated the hump back. Yeah, so that made our hats very distinctive. And growing up around hats, that led to marketing in the rodeo, and horse shows, and things like that. So with that background and all the marketing, I mean, we went to the Dallas markets, we went to the Denver markets, and seeing all that marketing is coming back up to me. And how can I apply that to real estate?
Mhm.
And so I am marketing myself with a hat on, not to be discouraged, wearing indoors, because hat etiquette, you take your hat off when you're indoors and when you're eating in a restaurant. And I've kind of had to get away from that a little bit because it's accepted more today.
Mhm.
But I'm trying to market more for farm and ranch land sales,
Mhm.
and because that's where my passion is. I've got a paint horse, you know, we've just been around that and everything, and we go to cowboy church and all this, so that's kind of my niche.
Mhm.
And even though I haven't had a lot of luck on farming land because it doesn't pop up that often, but it's still applying in the
It's still
residential
passion.
side.
It's
Yeah.
still
The
a
hats,
part of the fabric of who you are.
yeah, my hats are part of me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love it.
And another thing, talking about Charlie's Single Realty, I'm sitting here downloading because I'm on dial-up.
Mhm.
Everybody else on. But Charlie was very, very active in the Chamber of Commerce. He was a Lions Club member. If there was something going on, Charlie Singleton was there.
Mhm.
You know, at annual Alton Rodeo, Charlie Singleton sign was up by the announcer stand
Mhm.
because he had built such a brand and he'd built such a trust that, you know, and we were a member of the Lawton Rangers, and Charlie was a member of the Lawton Rangers. So
Mhm.
that's why my brand is what it is. That answers your question.
It does. Does that thinking a little about branding? All right. And I guarantee I don't do this, but luckily, Charlie's just a guy, just like you and I.
Mhm.
He wasn't a superhero. He just loved a community and he gave back to the community in his own authentic way. Being involved in business to business, which is why your dad knew him. And because your dad knew him business to business, your dad, I mean, you ended up doing business with him, but you felt comfortable because your dad and Charlie knew each other really well from business to
And we're
business.
in a relationship.
Yep. So that just gave the confidence when you were in doubt about the whole process. You knew it'd be okay because you were with the bank that your dad did and you were with a real estate agent that people thought highly of. So when you guys are thinking about who it is to serve, think about what problems do they have and how can I solve their problems? This part's really important, and it's so much easier for us in the social media world because you literally could use ChatGPT and go list out 10 of the most common problems or challenges of a first-time home buyer. And ChatGPT is going to give you a list of 10 of the most common challenges or problems of a first-time home buyer. Then you could say, please give me solutions for all 10 of these problems. And it would list out all of the solutions for you. Then you could ask ChatGPT, provide me a 30-second Instagram reel for each one of these solutions. And it would give you a script. And all you got to do is get the teleprompter app on your phone, turn on your camera, face it towards you, and talk about how you solve problems. And people will feel like if you're talking to that person that you're wanting to do more business with, they're going to feel like you get them because you're speaking their language, because you understand what their challenges or the problems are, and you're offering solutions. Now, some people really might like working with empty nesters. I went through what that feels like a couple of years ago when my last one graduated the house, where you're like, what are we supposed to do now? Of course, our grandkids ended up filling up our time, but if you understand what an empty nester is going through during that transition, then you could be speaking to their problems. And it's really easy for us to show people we get them. We hear you, we see you, we understand you through social media. If you don't feel comfortable going on ChatGPT or using AI to do this for you in less than 30 minutes, you could spend hours just journaling and figuring out what is the challenges that an empty nester might be going through. And I could come up with 10 challenges, and Vicki could come up with 10 challenges, and it's going to be 10 different challenges because we all are using our own frame of reference, our own experience to create this list, right? So it's going to be authentic. So if you're going to use AI, you need to make sure that it is authentic to you. So you really need to filter through the responses and get real clear about what really is something authentic to you and not just a generic. Divorced couples, y'all, I've been divorced twice. I've been married 3 times. I could authentically talk about the challenges that I had as a divorcee, but my challenges are going to be different than someone else's that has gone through a divorce. If you're passionate about helping women or men who might feel like men always end up paying child support and still to have to take care of kids too, and all of the responsibilities of a man and how, it doesn't seem fair. If you speak to that and do more of the divorce type business, there is a business for you in that whole arena. You could also take it from the other side and just talk about how it is as a divorcee woman and go that direction. Or you could just speak about divorcing in general and how hard it is on a family. But if you're truly passionate about that, that's another form of business for you. And if you're passionate about it, you should be talking about it. Don't keep it a secret because you're keeping part of you to yourself, and that's not fair to yourself. Relocation, that's another I moved around a lot growing up. So I remember my mom always checking out. We never were affiliated with a particular denomination. Church to my mom is wherever she felt that us as kids would be nurtured. And so I've been Assembly of God. I've Baptist, I've been Methodist, I've been Lutheran, I've been all of these. I mean, I've gone to all of these different denominations because it really didn't matter what church I was affiliated with. What really mattered is a church home. But that was part of the relocation process my mom went through. So what services could you provide someone talking about all of the different schools or where it is that you go and eat, or things to do if you've got kids, what to do if you're retiring and relocating to this area? If relocating is something that is something you've experienced and you want to help people through, you could build a whole business around that. The way you do that is to talk about the problems that people have whenever they're making these decisions. Does that make sense? Does that have y'all thinking a little bit? And then you can break it down to the different types of property. Farm and ranch is totally different lifestyle than condo live in Dallas. It's two different transactions. There's classes that you need to take to help understand. So if that's what you're passionate about, do more of and tell people about it. I'm taking this class today because I truly enjoy farm and ranch. I don't do a ton of business in farm and ranch because it's hard to find land that's available to purchase, but it doesn't keep me from loving to show it or loving to learn more about it. So when they're available, I can be of the best service to you. One of the challenges that we have right now is fire ants or whatever, you know, and you just talk about that stuff. If it's true to who you are, you should be talking about it.
And I'm sorry.
No, you're not too much.
On the relocation, Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate has an entire segment of the company focused on relocation. And they have built B2B relationships with companies involved with relocation, such as TI or even major companies and military. So relocation is something that I've had to phone up on to be on the relocation team, so that I understand where they're coming from. And on the military side of things, I married an Army brat, so
she's helping you on that side.
I mean, they move every 2 years, and she's lived all over the world, and so she can help me relate.
But you know what you could do, Danny, is you could do a post. And since you're getting comfortable with video, all of y'all need to get comfortable with video because you just got to get on camera. You have to do it. You could just do a post that said, we've got a lot of folks moving this way. And I really want to understand the challenges that you face when you're moving to a brand new town, maybe even a brand new state. So if you've recently moved here in the last 6 months, I would love to just interview you and ask you what that process felt like, or some of the challenges that you went through. Ask people. Now, it may take a couple of times, because remember, just because you posted a video doesn't mean you may have 2,000 friends. 10 people may have only seen that video, and maybe only one person thought about reaching out but got busy. So I would just encourage them just to message you, and then you can follow up with them. And it may take a couple of times to post that. And it needs to, because a branding message isn't just a one and done anyway. So if you're wanting to do more of that, start from that, because that's true and authentic. I haven't moved around a whole lot, or the last time I moved around, I can't remember the struggles, plus times have changed. So I'd love to hear from you. And you just keep getting that message out there.
You say that more than once, made me think, how many times do you see the same drug commercial over and over
And over. Yep. Yep.
They just constantly try to drive that into your mental image of them.
Yep. So how do you solve their problem? You could do this a couple of different ways. You could provide a lot of education around that. You could just be giving information that's just a guidance. You could be saying, if you're moving to this area, here's 5 things to do right now to get familiar with the area. Like, for example, one of the things that I do a lot of relo business because of the national coaching that I do. I get a lot of referrals to people that are relocating to Texas. And so I, at one time, was going out to the tourism at the Texas-Oklahoma border. And I would buy the highway or the state of Texas book that explains all of the regions, all the different characteristics of the regions, all of the different towns, the things to do. And I would send that to them with a nice little note. What I've done since then is I have a whole follow-up where I send them a link now to that. And my whole message is, you know, when you get here and get settled, I want you to know what all there is to do to explore and see and experience in Texas, so you can feel the pride that we feel as Texans. And, you know, just trying to integrate them into the lifestyle of being a Texan. But that's a process and a plan that I have in place to help them get excited, because some people talk about moving to Texas and it may be 6 months to a year before they get here, or they may end up getting relocated somewhere else instead. But it's still part of what you do, or you just become a resource. When you move to a new town, you don't even know where to go to get your hair cut. Like, think about it. You don't know where to go. If you were looking for organic food, would Green Market here on Tacoma Parkway? No. So sometimes it's just being a resource for people, just being a connector of whatever it is, whatever your ideal client is that you're looking to serve. You don't have to have all the answers. You just may need to know who they need to call. So as real estate agents, you guys should be like a walking, talking Rolodex with the phone in your hand now. You don't have to actually wait till you get to the office to look on a Rolodex. It's all right here. And that even goes to whenever you are on Facebook and someone's saying, I got bees in my tree. Who does anybody know who to call for bees? You guys should have such a vast Rolodex that you know who to call for bees. Keep my windows clean. I don't even know who to call. Your name should be the one popping up. You could be known as being the resource for all things. And anytime you see something, even if you don't know the answer to it, reach out, find the answers through the context that you do have so that you can help people by being a resource. And you could build a brand around just being a connector.
Next door neighbor, I on the email is, we have a
Uh-huh.
Now it's just opened up to everybody.
The next door neighbor, yeah, that app.
Yeah. There's always people asking silly questions.
Mm.
No, I'm glad that-
Yeah, a gutter that's up.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
silly things.
Yes,
Wow,
yes.
everybody tells us that.
absolutely. So there is your most compelling, unique advantage attracting your ideal client is to choose you. The best way to get people to choose you is by you being you. Is what that I said it all wrong, but just be you. So who are you? This is the one thing that I wanted to be sure that we covered in here. Your style, that is part of who you are. That is your brand. I've been wearing hats now for a couple of years because I don't have to worry about whether my hair is doing right or not. You guys have no idea that it's been 6 weeks since I got my roots done and my roots are dark because I got a hat on. My hair's all frizzy right now because it's humid outside, but y'all don't know because I got a hat on. So it's a good way for me to hide. It's hat hair. And I've done it for so long that I'm more comfortable. It's like I'm forgetting my ring if I don't have my hat on. But that's also become my style. It's just, you know, if I walk in the door without a hat or something on my head, you go, what's wrong with you? It becomes your style. So do something consistently, it becomes your time. Personality. Your personality as you are is your brand. That's who you are. Your values. I love to teach a core values class because it really, if you just pause and really think through what are my core values, I promise whenever you get real clarity about what your core values are, you will figure out why some things that you do really just drive you absolutely crazy and you procrastinate against it. You will also discover why it is some people you just, no matter how hard you try, you just can't really like that person. It's because you're out of alignment with with your core values. Your values are who you are. And some people try to make up for that because they're trying to be something they're not. But if you really truly understand your values, so that's just who you are. And then your belief systems. So that's what makes up who you are. Here's some examples. You guys are going to get all of these slides. Just as an example of people that are loud and who they are. And you know right away who they are. And that's okay. Because I can decide right away if that's someone I would connect with. There are 12 brand archetypes. And I'm going to give you guys a website that you go to and fill out this questionnaire to find out what yours is. I'm looking for it because we're light on time. Looking for. Okay, seeing the link, so I'll send it to you guys. Slides. It's Kaye Putnam. I'll send that to you before you guys get the slides, because you might be really interested in going down further in this area.
It's on the side with the brand archetypes.
I was just covering it up when.
It's there.
Okay. Here. It's on that slide, but then. Oh, there you are. Yeah, KAYEPUTMAN.com. If you guys sign up and you do her brand archetype, you will also get all kind of emails and webinars and things that she teaches, and you could go way down this whole rabbit hole. But I really, really like her stuff. It even helps you understand your brand fonts, your colors, elements, and shapes for your branding that is true to who you are based on this personality type. It's pretty incredible. So I wanted to be sure to put that resource in there for you. Some of you guys are here because it's just a CE class. Some of you are here because you really are fascinated with branding. So here's just a couple of examples of people. Gary V. Gary V says that if you I can't remember, it's like 12 times a day you're supposed to be posting on social. It's crazy amount. Carmen, have you studied it? Gary V. Vandercheck?
That just makes me think
Kyle Draper? Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
He said that same thing.
Yeah.
I was like, there's just nothing.
Well, okay. So if you're going to do that, you're going to do that in stories. And let me give you an example of how that would work. And I don't pause to do this either. But I could be leaving my house this morning, or I could be outside drinking my cup of tea, having a conversation with my husband. I'd take a picture and go, great way to start my day, whatever. All right. And then when I pull up, I could take a picture as I'm walking in the door by that sign, Greater Texoma Association of Realtors. And I could go, so excited to meet my my favorite realtors today. And we're going to talk about being more ourselves. You know, and I could even do a survey question, a poll question really quick. Are you comfortable with who you are? Are you clear with who you are? Whatever. I could do whatever. And then when I'm leaving here, I could go, man, that was a great class. Or I could just take a picture, post a picture of, or even the video of Danny, right? And I'd be, gosh, it was great to hear Danny's first time, the story of when he bought his first house 30 years ago. How long ago was that? 40 years ago, whatever it was.
That would be 45 years.
45 years ago. It reminded me of what it felt like to buy my first home. And then I'd pull into my office and I could take a picture of my parking lot, or I could take a picture of my front door, and I could say, back to the office, ready to help home buyers, or give home buyers money so they could go buy their first home. So they can have the same feelings that Danny had at his first home 45 years ago, right? Okay, then I'm going to meet with the developer this afternoon. He's got a bunch of land around here that he developed. He's talking about affordable homes in a 55 plus community, right? So I could just take a picture of him, whether or not he wanted to be in the picture, I could be the half of it, whatever it is. So excited about talking about affordable homes, because I believe that we need affordable homes in this area. And he's passionate about a 55 plus community. How many of you guys would love a 55 plus community? All right. Then whenever I go home, I could post another picture and say, man, that was a great day. Blah, 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 blah. Right? Okay. That's what he's talking about. Now, all of a sudden, if I were to do that and I put that in my stories, if someone slides up on my stories, they're going to just scroll right through a whole little snapshot of my day. Do you know what I do for a living without me even telling you what I do for a living? Do you know who I am and what I value if I were to do that? I mean, especially if I end my day by taking a picture of me on the kayak on the middle of the lake, talking about what a great day that was and how cool it is to unwind out here on the water, right? So then all of a sudden you'd get a whole snapshot of my entire day, and you would know who I am without me saying I give people money to buy homes. I don't even have to say that. And then if someone was interested in more about me, then click on my name and go to my profile and look at my news feed. If they look at my news feed, are they going to be able to tell who I am as a human by looking at my news feed? And you guys got to be thinking about this. Your news feed will tell people so much about you. They don't even have to ask. It becomes who you are. It becomes your brand. So if someone were to go, now I have 2 different accounts. I'm not advocating 2 different accounts, but from a compliance standpoint, it makes it easier for me. This is a news feed. So this is all of my news feed. So this is who I am. People can see I'm a grandma. I've got a few little stats in here. Y'all, that's an interesting graph. If you guys have not, not many people ran across this, it's just all about money, but it's a graph of inventory. And I'm saying I'm not a realtor, but I know numbers, and I've bought and sold through the decades in all markets, and I'm objective. So if you're thinking about selling your home, but you're still just not quite sure if it makes sense for you, call me and I'll have a conversation with you about it. We gave away $1,000 worth of coffees yesterday to teachers. Caused a line at CJ's. It just shows I care about community, right? I mean, so if I'm posting on stories, then people are going to get kind of a snapshot of who I am. And then if they want to know more about me, your news feed tells them all that they need to know. Same thing with your Instagram. If someone was going to go to Instagram, if they're curious about her, they're going to see you on stories and reels. And then, if they go to your profile, they'll see on your grid who you are. what's important to you. If you're not sure what your values are, go check out your newsfeed. It'll give you a lot of insight on what you really value. All right. Do y'all kind of have your wheels turning a little bit on branding? How many of you guys are really going to take this information and really go self-explore? All right. Yeah. You've been doing this for a long, long time. You've got some great stories. You feel comfortable on social media, and that is fine. You don't have to be. You're still your own brand. Everywhere you go, you're Jim Barrett as a brand. And what people think of you when you leave the room, they say about you when you're not there, is your brand.
Unfortunately, sometimes.
All right. Okay, well.
Talk a lot.
Huh?
What's gonna make us think that
That is not what they say.
Sometimes that we do things that would be in the subliminal category.
Absolutely.
People find out who we are.
Yes. Yes. Yes, the reptilian part of your brain that just does things automatically is just doing things automatically. And it's who you are. It's muscle memory. It's just what you do unconsciously.
Can I throw myself out there?
Yeah.
Can I do a poll? Folks in this room, I have spent a lot of time.
You have not? Okay.
Okay. Just for me.
Well, come up here because I want them to hear this too.
Oh, gee.
Just, well, I gotta find our next deal anyway. So it's
Okay, I'm just curious and good, bad, indifferent. But just from what I said a while ago, I want to do a poll, speak for my own self. Okay. And I'd like for each one of you to give me a one word opinion or a one word opinion or a person.
description. A descriptive, a one
One
word
description
description of who
of
Dean
who I am,
is.
since most of you don't know a whole lot about me.
in a long time, I was who you are.
Okay,
Wisdom. That's what
Yeah,
she's saying.
yeah,
Wisdom.
wisdom,
Helpful.
helpful, thank you.
Experience.
Experience, thank you,
I think honest.
thank you. Every one of those is what I was going for. And I think one that I want to work on more is a spirituality. I said one phrase in there that I was wondering if anything was that that's one of my favorite things. It's a God thing. And if I have people that are, oh, we love this house, we can get it. And I always tell them, if it's to be, it will be.
Mhm.
If it doesn't work out, there's a reason. And that plays out so true, because if you allow them their enthusiasm to get them into something that isn't right for them, it's going to be a money pit, anything along those lines. And that's what I think we as realtors, and our heart of hearts, we need to do is to take better care of our clients and help guide them to keep from making what is monetary or physical mistakes
Mhm.
that they ever had. So thank you for doing that for me. I appreciate it.
You know, I love what Dan asked you guys to do. And number one, words are a gift. What you just gave Danny is a gift. Did it feel like a gift?
Oh, absolutely.
How did those words make you feel?
Was a reassurance as to what I was striving to portray.
Mm-hmm.
And I even tell my clients, I'm not used car sales. I'm gonna tell you, people look at this house today. And you need to sign right here, right now, let's get this for you. No, no, if it's to be, it's to be, there may have been 4 people, look at it.
Mhm.
Beat for them.
Mhm.
If we get a bidding war, fine. But I want them to be in their heart of hearts, know that they make the right decision.
Well, I think that, so keep in mind, words are gifts. Words make you feel good. They can also hurt. But the emotions that you feel around words is based on your frame of reference of that word, right? So let me give you an example of what I mean by that. So Danny said used car salesman, and a lot of people, realtors and used car salesmen, they
I know where you're
typically,
going.
they typically, people will have sometimes the same frame of reference when it by titles, right? So words can be a gift, but they can also be hurtful.
It's twice I've done it now. You've been a
Yeah.
car salesman.
So
That's how I originally. remember Jeff.
yeah. So in who has even more beautiful story about used car salesmen. So when and I example so that you just understand, it's people's feelings, their emotions are tied to their past experiences. It's just brain works. If you were to walk in and if you saw a snake on the floor, you walked in, whether or not you said, "Oh, that's a grass snake. We need to get that relocated and put it out on in the flower bed," or whether or not you're like, "It's a snake. Get it out of here. Oh, kill it. Chop its head off," is going to be based on your past experience with snakes, right? Yeah. So it's just your brain is going to feel the feels, which is emotions based on past experiences. So words are really important, which is why it's really, thinking through words as gifts is a big deal. But we as realtors have to, some people that think of realtors and think of mortgage companies the same as a used car salesperson. Other people think of used car salespersons. I think of a real estate agent as someone who is going to guide me and help me through a process, help me through something that I'm not familiar with. I'm thinking of the mortgage company. I mean, really, when I got first loan, my experience was a lot like Danny's. My dad was a businessman, and I went to where he told me to go because his banker was Steve at that time, Bank One. That's where I got my bank. And I always thought of bankers as being these people on a throne that was going to determine my future by giving me money or saying no. That was how I perceived bankers. And now I see myself. I mean, I wonder and worry about people having that same feeling towards me because of my past experience. Used car salesperson to me is someone who is helping provide transportation that's affordable to someone. Other people's perception of a used cars person is to, sell them a car that they didn't want or need for more money than what they were willing to pay, right? Because it's just past experiences or stories that people have been told based on their experiences. So that also becomes, that's why branding and being authentic as a human rather than a title is so important. So it's not really as important as what you are as it is who you are, because people are doing business with as a who, not a what. Does that make sense? That kind of rounds out that whole conversation. Those of you guys on Zoom, do y'all have any questions or comments or anything to add? No. Um, to begin your journey on branding, and we're fixing to flip over, the exercise that Danny just did is such a great exercise. Ask people around you that kind of know you and some that really know you, just for one descriptive word, and collect these words and see if they really align with who you think you are, because that'll give you a lot of clarity and on your transparency, on your authenticity. So,